All right, good afternoon, everyone. It's Sunday, March 22nd, 2026, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time here in Champaign, Illinois. You're watching Call for Two, and you're joining me for Letter 7 of the Deadbolt Mystery Society game, Letters from a Ghost Hunter. Letter 7 of 12, so we're past the halfway point. Before we get started, let's check in with the chat. YouTube says 10 viewers. Small group today. We've got Sleeping Dragons here. Flying monkeys are like hail. They let you know when the witches are coming. Okay. Let's do a little bit of bookkeeping. For some reason, I really like that. Okay. Little bit of bookkeeping. Today, at 4 p.m., in a couple hours from now, I will be doing my game design diary update number 12 for New York Noir. You can see the box behind me. That's the board game I've been working on for 4 years or so now with lots of help. Big update to talk about, lots of art to show off. I do hope you can join me for that. I'm happy to answer any questions. I think I'll be playing quite a few games this week, so if you have time this coming week and want to join for some games, feel free to stop by the Board Game Geek Guild for this channel and let me know what games you're most interested in playing. There's a couple new games behind me on the wall. Maybe we'll get to some of those. Yesterday, we played the 8th session of Unboxed, that tiny little game you can see in the corner that I am quite infatuated with. I'll be recording a spoiler-free review as soon as we finish it. And then after that, we played the latest game in the series, Until Proven Guilty, which was a little more hit and miss. What else do we need to cover before we get started? One thing that we forgot last week is we forgot to read the second half of the letter. So I think we should start by doing that. Things are getting a little more weird in our case here, a little more supernatural. A reminder, if you haven't been joining for the previous episodes, you shouldn't watch this one. It won't make any sense. So you can join me at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time for the game design update. But we are finding out more about the serial killer that is at the heart of this case. And half the case sounds like a classical serial killer missing person story, but the other half is supernatural. And then last week we got a flavor of not just supernatural, but almost like a Lovecraftian vibe of some eternal demon that these people working at the pharmaceutical are trying to use to get ahead in life in some afterlife. Really got quite complicated. But the way we normally read these letters, every week there's a letter, and we normally fold this over and read only the new welcome, new update, and the recap of last week. This is what tells us anything we might have missed in solving last week's letter. But then these letters always start with this week's mailing contents, and they don't say they're hints, but they really are. They're like a summary of things that we like to figure out on our own, so we tend not to read this. But we need to remember to read it at the end of the session, because it's not just hints, it's actually some more story. So this is the end of last week's letter, which we're going to now read. The first half here is just hints about stuff that we solved. So we can skip this. For example, it tells us where that sticker came from. I found a spare in my backpack, thought you might want a souvenir, etc. Okay, but now look at this. P.S. Okay, I'm pressed for time to get this written and dropped in the mailbox to stay on schedule. I haven't left Valewood during the last 6 weeks. Since someone else seems to be here on the property with me, I decided to search the grounds to see if any other vehicles were here. There weren't, but someone has slashed all 4 of my tires. I'm stuck here, and for the moment, my cell phone still isn't working. I think they're using a signal blocker, so someone's playing games with me, someone who isn't a ghost. Good thing I brought a revolver. Let's see how they fare against a bullet. Game on. Okay, so in addition to this cold case, this guy who's our friend who's investigating for us is actually in current danger. That's a little nerve-wracking. All right, let's see if anyone's working on anything they want to talk about or want to mention anything that we might have missed. Only one piece, Melissa says, I haven't finished from this week's letter. So Melissa is subscribing to this independently. I think we've probably talked about this already, but Melissa, have you subscribed to the new serial killer 12-part letter that Deadbolt announced? I think that I have subscribed with the help of the Patreon supporters of this channel, even though I'm not 100% thrilled with this set of letters. I don't think they're quite rising to the normal Deadbolt Mystery Society content, but I am a sucker for this long form stuff. Although I'm also anxious to get back to Dear Holmes, so there's just not enough time in the day. All right, let's read our new letter. Week 7. Okay, first things first, let's talk about the person who is here with me. Before the jerk slashed all my tires, I could have convinced myself they were homeless and just looking for some place to crash. That obviously isn't the case. Whoever it is certainly up to no good. As I mentioned last time, I'm armed. I can take care of myself. The question is, why are they targeting me? My opinion? They know I'm learning a lot of things they thought would stay buried, and they want to silence me. Is TikTok the one who's roaming these halls? Someone from Vailwood Admin? Someone from Black Spire Pharmaceuticals? I'm sure you also know that I've determined the identity of patient 164. Knowing who he really was shed so much light on things. He got too close to the truth and was silenced for what he learned. It also explains why more investigation wasn't done at Vailwood during the period of time when the murders were occurring. The police were scared of what might happen to them if they got too close. The puppet master pulling the strings in all of this obviously has deep pockets and a whole lot of influence. Patient 164 was proof of that. If you learn things you shouldn't know, it seems that you were either murdered or discredited and institutionalized. In the case of patient 164, they made him seem crazy and drugged him to keep him under control. He was a police officer, I believe, is what we found. Okay, this week we were supposed to explore Doctor's Office 1. That's where Nancy said she would leave her next note, so it seemed like the logical place to check next. I found her next note exactly where she said it would be and have included a copy for you. But something strange happened while I was in that particular room that convinced me to alter my plans. I had decided to try an automatic writing session. Automatic writing, also called psychography, is a claimed psychic ability where practitioners hold a writing instrument and allow spirits to manipulate their hand. Immediately once this session began, I felt something take control of me and use my hand to write the following message over and over again. The shadow people on the 8th floor need to talk. I think it bears noting that the presence which guided my hand was distinctly feminine. In any case, I immediately moved up to the 8th floor and began my investigation anew. One thing I did discover almost immediately is that another paranormal investigator named Wilhelm Vick did quite a bit of work here on the 8th floor. I found a page of his notes up there. Vick mentioned you by name, which is odd because I thought I was the first ghost hunter you had allowed to investigate here. There are a lot of things you weren't straight with me about, and I'm beginning to wonder why. What secrets are you hiding, old friend? I have to admit, I'm rather uneasy about things here now, specifically based on all of the information you have withheld. That leads me to an interesting and somewhat frightening thought. I've been sending you updates every week about my progress. If you were somehow involved in all of this, then you know exactly how close to the truth I may or may not be. Is the person roaming these halls with me someone you sent to keep an eye on me and prevent me from getting too close? I hate to even think such a thing. After all, you're one of my oldest and dearest friends. Forget I mentioned that. I need to get back to it. All right, and then here is the start of the back. Thoughts and observations for last week's mailing. The 4x6 image, this makes number 3. I expect I'll get that many more. Jeremiah McClinton's computer, gaining access was easy when I thought back to what I learned from the spell book. Room 317 code. The logo was the key. It bears noting that the logo is basically a V and a W for Valewood. V to W is a move of one space along the alphabet. As for the weird story found beneath the tile in patient 164's room, it took me a while to figure out where to start, but when I did, it seemed easy enough. I started at the beginning over and over again until I made it to the end of the story, one letter per line. This week's mailing. Okay, so these are all things that we solved last week. Let's remember to read the back of that before we wrap up today's session. This guy's going to end up in a wall like the others, like the Friends of Nancy. Okay, it is a little creepy that we haven't told him. Remember, the other things we haven't told him is that our wife was committed at this sanatorium. All right, so here is the note from Nancy that was found by our investigator. And there's a QR code before we finish. Was there a QR code last week too? Okay. This may be the last note I'm able to leave for a bit. Things are getting tense and all eyes are on me. I may have to leave clues in different ways from now on. Remember all those bits of cipher I've given you? Look for that font. People are catching on to the fact that I may be here for reasons that don't involve the paranormal. Jansen and Arndt, the chief of surgery, meanwhile, seem to be up to something too. Jansen has been sneaking away in the middle of the night. He doesn't think anyone has seen him, but I have. I don't know where he's been going, but I'm now suspicious of everyone in my group for different reasons. I finally confronted Sherry, Kate, and Richard about their behavior. I asked Richard why he was really going through my stuff. I told him I didn't think they were being honest with me. He tried to gaslight me and convince me I was imagining things. I don't trust any of them. Update. I hate to admit that I was right to be suspicious, but what I just discovered frightens me more than the ghosts in this place. A few notes ago, I explained that the way I obtained all of my suspects was from a list that my mother had written down that was entitled, "One of these people wants me dead." Now, given the circumstances, I might have been able to chalk this list up to the ramblings of someone who was mentally ill. That all changed, however, given the fact that my mother was murdered, which indicates that someone definitely did want her dead. Each week, I've been trying to find out information and grab a snapshot of the people on this list. If you're finding my notes, then I'm sure you're also finding the Polaroids. One of the names on the list has been giving me trouble. Baldwin Ford. Sounds like a car dealership, right? Anyway, I haven't been able to determine who this person was until last night, when we were all bored after dinner and waiting for the sanatorium to wind down for the evening so we could start an investigation. We decided to play Truth or Dare, and wouldn't you just know it, Jansen picked Truth when it came his turn. Kate asked him his middle name, and he said it was Baldwin. Jansen Baldwin Ford. My friend, who may not really be my friend, was on my mother's list of people who wanted her dead. How did my mother know Jansen? What possible motive could Jansen have had for wanting to kill my mother? Jansen made mention of the fact that he had never been to Valewood before. I'm not sure that's entirely true now. I feel all alone at the moment. What are we misunderstanding about? Like, I thought Jansen was the owner. What? I'm a little bit confused. Maybe someone can remember. Are they related? Is that what it is? I know I should know the answer to this. It's a little late to be not remembering these critical names. Oh, Jeremiah McClinton was the owner. Jansen Jeremiah. Okay, Jansen is her friend. Jeremiah is the owner. Okay, fine. Okay, a couple of additional things. I thought it might make sense to try to investigate the murder victims who were actually Vailwood employees. My thinking was that they should be able to give me more inside information. So I tried to communicate with the spirit of Andrea Holt. She was a nurse who was murdered by TikTok. At first, she told me she couldn't speak to me. She kept saying that the one at the top of the black spire would punish her if she talked. This made me think of the message I found in that spell book. I eventually convinced her to speak to me by turning my flashlight off and on. I walked through the hallways of the first floor with my flashlight off. When I was going in the right direction, she would turn the flashlight on. If I veered off in the wrong direction, she would turn the flashlight off. Think of it like getting hot, cold hints. You're getting warm, warmer, you're hot, you're cold, etc. Eventually, after following her clues, I ended up at a potted plant in a corner of the lobby. I looked around the plant, under the plant, in the dirt held in the pot, and at last looked on the bottom of the pot and found a hospital bracelet with the words lab door combo and a bunch of random numbers that must be a printing error. I'm putting the bracelet back where I found it after taking several photos of it, of course. Now I'm trying to figure out the patterns of these numbers to determine how to unlock that door. On a separate, unrelated note, I heard some of the employees talking. I heard Kevin Leclerc, Peter Poe, Carter Ennis, and Garrett Arndt. These are all people on our suspects list. Joking around and comparing tattoos. They all seem to be friends, or at least on very friendly terms, based on the way they were laughing. Betts walked in during the middle of the conversation, and they all tried to convince him to join the club. Betts said he wasn't big on needles and politely declined. That's important because we have a clue about TikTok and tattoos, and this group seemed to have tattoos, but not Bet. TikTok is under 42. He's not a patient, and he has no tattoo. Not inked, we're told. So that's very important for us then, because some of these we could see had tattoos, and some of them we couldn't. But this seems to be giving us more confirmation. Letter 7. So Betts does not have a tattoo. He doesn't want to join this club. But Leclerc, Peter Poe, Carter Ennis, and Garrett Arndt do have tattoos. So this is the one that, this is our list of people. These shouldn't be our TikTok. They should be cleared from this. Okay. He wasn't big on needles. Update number 2. I finally figured out how to open the lab door. Enlightening is all I can say. Once you get inside, look for a file folder that is labeled Neuroquell Trials. I hid the file in the air duct. Look for the results for Morris Cook. That's who we think is the father of TikTok. And we, at the last letter, we sort of learned that the serial killer is being manipulated to do their bidding because they're keeping his father alive, or Neuroquel is the drug that can save people from a coma, which the father is in, something like that. Okay, she figured out how to open the door. It's the lab door combo that she couldn't. Random numbers must be a printing error. And she says, I figured out how to do this. All I can say is enlightening. So I wonder if that means the black light lab door combo is enlightening. So we're going to have to follow in her footsteps and decode that ourselves. Neuroquel trials. Okay, I'm very interested in seeing those Neuroquel trials document. Let's see what we've got here. So another puzzle piece, number 4, with an arrow. And 2 more Polaroids. What have we got here? Jansen Ford. Okay, this is one of Nancy's friends, but now we think that he may be involved. He is one of the people that the mother said was trying to kill him. Jansen Ford. And then in Nancy's letter, she says, Jansen Baldwin. Who is one of our suspects. And one of Nancy's friends with her is a suspect. All right, we'll put him in our suspect list in a bit. And then who are we looking at here? Maddie Miller. We don't know. This the first we're hearing about this person? I feel like this is the first time we're hearing about Maddie Miller. Maybe we're going to hear about her. Okay, it looks like these are the numbers from the lab door. Oh, what's this? That's weird. So this is, I see, this is meant to be a bracelet that someone at the sanatorium hospital would wear. It's got a weird little pattern here. Almost like it's cut. They're cuts. I'm not sure what that's about. But maybe that's just meant to reproduce how you would put it on. And it's not important. It feels like we have to figure out this combo. So before we try to figure out, let's just see. She said it's enlightening. Let's see if there is a blacklight element to this. Okay, there isn't. That's a little surprising to me. Seemed like that was likely to be what was happening with that clue enlightening. Okay, so what do we think here? I mean, we don't know how many digits are in this. Do we think we just have to figure out these question marks? If I had to guess, that's what I would guess. I would guess what we have is 3 sequence patterns. So if you had to guess, you'd guess, okay, you have to figure out what's the next number in this sequence. and then what's the last number in this sequence, and then separately what's the last number in this sequence. A little mathematical puzzles. Some people love these. I actually tend to like these, although it's not that fun doing them on a time under time pressure. But so I'm guessing what we've got is a 3-digit code. I don't know why her hint was enlightening. 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 I don't know. Let's see. Does anything jump out here? 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 plus 3 is 8. This is the classic 8 plus 5 is 13. So our first number here is going to be 13. That's the classic. Now, what have we got here? 3, 6, 4, 8, 6, 12, 10. So we're going up and then down. So plus 3 minus 2 plus 4 minus 2 plus 6 minus 2 plus 3 minus 2 plus 4 minus 2 plus 6 minus 2. That part's a little bit weird. Are we jumping from this next one? Plus 3 minus 2 plus 4 minus 2, but then it's not a plus 5, it's a plus 6 minus 2. So in other words, if we were just look at the gaps here, the gap of 3 minus 2, 4 minus 2, 6. A little odd. What if we should just be looking at the, so sort of intuitively, if I were to guess, 3, 4, 6, plus 1, plus 2. Okay, then sorry, did I not finish it? Minus 2. Okay, so if I had to guess, I would guess plus 1, then plus 2, then we've got a 3. So sorry, 3, 4, 6. I would guess this would be 19, but I don't have a good justification for that. And then the next one will be 17, but we don't care about that. So, but maybe there's a better way to look at these numbers that don't go 3, 4, 6. So 3 plus 1 is 4, 4 plus 2 is 6, 6 plus 3 is 9. And then that's how I get, I guess what I'm trying to say is this would be a 9 plus 9, and then a minus 2. That's the gaps. And then the plus 9 would go on the 10. So this would be 19. But I don't have a great justification for that. It might be nice to have a better rationale here. You can see the second set of each pair is just going down by 2. 6 to 4 is down by 2. 8 to 6 is down by 2. 12 to 10. Is it double? Is that what it is? Yes. Okay, that's what it is. It's doubling. Okay. So 3 doubles to 6, and then you subtract 2. 4 doubles to 8, then you subtract 2. 6 doubles to 12, then you subtract 2. 10 doubles to 20, and then you subtract 2. So actually 18 is our second one. 13, 18. I'm going to look at the chat in a minute and see if anyone is disagreeing. Okay, so now here's our last set of 3. What are we looking at here? I mean, these almost look like they're exponentials. 1 to the third, 1. 2 to the third is 8. 3, yeah, that's what it is. Okay. So we've got 1 to the third, 2 to the third, 3 to the third, 4 to the third. So our missing digit is 5 to the third, which is 5 times 5 is 25 times 5 is 125. I believe that's right. So 4 times 4 is 16 times 4 is 64. 5 times 5 is 25 times 5 is 125. Okay. So I think that is our answer. Does anyone want to... The middle number is not correct. The middle number is not correct. Okay, what have I done? 3 times 2 is 6. Then you go a minus 2 and you get 4. Sorry. Double the 3, you get 6. Then you subtract 2. Then you double it and subtract 2. You double it and subtract 2. You double it. You double it to get 20. The next number would be the 18. Okay. All right. Any objection to these solutions? Any thoughts? So 13, 20, 1, 25. That's our code, our door code. Okay, cute little mathematical thing. I don't know what this clue about enlightening was, though. Now, where would we put this? We don't know. Maybe it's that QR code in our intro letter, but we don't have to worry about it now. Let's go to our next piece of evidence here. Here are the notes from Wilhelm Wieck, who is another psychic who spent some time on the 8th floor. Remember, she said she did the automatic writing. It said there's shadow people on the 8th floor, and that's when she discovered this. From the notes of Wilhelm Wieck, paranormal investigator. At the behest of Mr. Montgomery, is that us? I have come here to explore the halls of Valewood Sanatorium and see what I can learn about the ghosts who still fill this place. The E is sure written weird. Is something weird happening? No, he's just writing it weird. To that end, I've isolated 8 different spirits that manifest as shadow people. I'm convinced that these 8 shadow figures are actually the site-known victims, the 8 known victims murdered by the criminal known as TikTok. So all the serial killer's victims, 8 of them, are on this 8th floor? Determining which shadow figure is which requires me to know details about each of the victims. For reasons unbeknownst to me, the 8 shadow figures inhabit 8 specific rooms on the 8th floor. I brought along a psychic who divined the following information about each of these for me. So is this another constraint satisfaction puzzle? The rooms on the 8th floor that are inhabited are 802, 805, 806, 807, 810, 11, 14, and 26. The psychics say that the victims all tend to stay on the 8th floor because a priest once did a cleansing ritual on the 8th floor, and thus it is the safest floor in the entire building. The psychic said she spoke to the ghost of the mortician, Agnes Cartwright, and learned the inhabitant of one specific room has a message if you can determine which room is in question and which of the dead linger there. Angus Cartwright. I spoke to Angus Cartwright. The spirit said there's one inhabitant of one room that has a message, if we can figure out what room and what person is there. Okay. Now, I'm not sure there is any sort of rhyme or reason to why specific ghosts have chosen specific rooms. Maybe even in death, each of them still desire their privacy. In a place built on a legacy of death and despair, finding comfort in any small thing, even choosing your own room, is desirable, I would expect. Here is what we know. Okay, so it's another constraint satisfaction math puzzle. The neurologist's room has 7 digits. Sorry, even digits. Nurse's room have digits that both add up to equal the same number. Okay, so a bunch of constraint things. Okay, so we'll make a nice little grid and do it properly. The room number I'm going to investigate is associated with authority administration. I need both the room number and the last name of the victim to see what I can learn. Okay, so here's a standalone puzzle and a standalone QR code. We'll do that. We'll do that in a moment. What is this? So, Stalk, Supernatural Trackers, Annihilators, and Lightkeepers. Stalk is a little organization that is featured in some Deadbolt Mystery Society games. I don't know why we are just given this without any... Why is this not mentioned? I don't understand why this guy sends stuff without mentioning it. I guess he's going to mention it here somewhere, but we don't want to read that yet. This doesn't mention anything about this note, does it? I mean, was this found on the 8th floor? Is this part of Wilhelm Wick's information? I don't like these things arriving without any context. But maybe it's at the back of this letter. It almost seems like this is Wilhelm. But maybe not. Like, it feels like we've got enough letter. Oh, I see WWW. A little suspicious here. And then we've got letters that are like half folded. All right, I don't know what to make of this yet. Maybe, though, since we don't have to deal with it yet, we won't. The one puzzle we did solve, the door code, it's not clear where we put this, except if it's here at the bottom of this letter. I think one of my, I'm just reading up a little, one of my objective is going to be to get into that lab door to see what I can learn. Okay, so we peeked ahead at that just because it's a QR code and we have solved that. So I think maybe we should carve the chicken at the joint that we have access to right now and do this first, and then we'll circle back to that constraint satisfaction puzzle. You don't need to see that. Okay. All right, let's find out if we've correctly identified this door code. 1320125. All right, looks like that was it. We'll download it in case we need it later. Has it downloaded? Yes. Okay, here we go. What are we looking at? I found the folder Nancy hid easily enough. I also found the results from Morris Cook without too much trouble. The notes read as follows. Patient is responding well to Neuroquel. Brain function is returning. With luck, Mr. Cook can resume his place as Blackspire's CEO soon. If cognitive results continue to improve, we will bring him out of the coma and ensure there are no lasting effects. Thankfully, only 2 additional trial subjects have died. Angus has taken care of their remains and buried them in an unmarked graves in Valewood Cemetery. A few people are starting to catch on to what we're doing here, but the scion of the Cook line is tending to those loose ends. Okay, so now it sounds like we've learned who TikTok is. TikTok is the son of Morris Cook, who is, I guess we already knew that, but Morris Cook, now we learn, was the CEO of Blackspire. And this Neuroquel drug is working, and they can wake him up from his coma. And meanwhile, TikTok, the son, whose last name should be Cook, but maybe operating under another assumed name, is TikTok. Okay, a few people are starting to catch on. The scion of the Cook line is tending to those loose ends. It's a bit of a leverage point, actually. We're keeping Cook alive, treating the brain damage he suffered. His heir, the brown-eyed devil. I think this might be the first time that we learned that TikTok is brown-eyed. Okay, that will help us eliminate some suspects, although most of them had brown eyes. The brown-eyed devil, meanwhile, takes care of those who might seek to expose our unsanctioned human trials. If only we could just keep those stalk people from trying to contact the dead to learn more about TikTok's identity. So far, they haven't learned much. I intend to keep it that way. The climb to the upper reaches of Blackspire continues. Malachor be praised. Signed JM. Okay, so just to remind you, Malachor is sort of the name they've been using for some sort of ancient devil that lived for eons. Obviously, there is a lot in all of that to digest, but there was one thing that stuck out to me, the mention of Stalk. They are a paranormal investigation group out of Valley Falls. I know them well. We've done some ghost hunts together and travel in the same circles. Good people. I consider them to be friends. I was able to get the payphone working again for about 30 seconds, which was long enough to call the group. Mikey, the skeptic of the bunch, told me he would upload something useful to their site. The phone cut off at that moment. Before I embarked on this journey, I talked to Mikey and told him what I had planned. He gave me the info needed to access files that were uploaded to the Stalk website. But it was clear he didn't want to make it too easy on me. The way he wrote down the directions will tell you all you need to know. So if you can make heads or tails out of what he wrote down, you can see whatever info he posted that is supposed to help me or us in our quest for answers. Okay, pretty cool. Now you see the wisdom of attacking the puzzles you can and putting off those that you don't know how to start, because it's clear that he's talking about this now. So we needed to do that first, and then we can do this. Okay. Now, what does he say? He does suggest that this is a website, but he says, he gave me the info needed to access the files. He didn't want to make it too easy. He wrote down the directions. The directions will tell you all you need to know. So what we think is that this is going to be a website and directions. So is this the www of a website? But then why would, like, if we're reading it this way, www TOSLAKOHS, that doesn't make sense. These are the only W's though. So it feels like it should be the www, but it doesn't have to be in this direction. It could be this way. www DSOTTKA, no, but probably, I wonder if we can't expect it to say stock somewhere. Certainly got plenty of letters to spell stock, but that might be a, and like .com. So do we have like a chain, like www? You can't get to stock that way, but I feel like is this com? And instructions. So you might imagine it says something like visit www.com. There's A with a little light. I'm not sure if that's important. So this is going to have instructions, but clearly by instructions, it means largely a URL. Okay, let's see what we can observe. We observe that the URL probably has www in it, and these W's are all together. He wrote down the instructions that will tell you all you need to know. It wouldn't be surprising, since there's no dots, if it was the letter dot. Like, look, I see D-O-T, D-O-T. So I feel like it might be www.stalk www. Like, these W's could be in any order, but I think maybe if we read it left to right, www.DOTS 1, 2, 3, 4. So is that what we're looking at? That we're interweaving these? That's what we're looking at, that we're interweaving these like 1, 2, DOT, 3, and 4. Is that what's happening? Are we going blank W, blank www, DOT, STALK? That's it. Okay, so it's blank www dot DOT, third line, now fourth line, S, now first line, TALK. Now we go to first line again, GALS. GALS. S. Now first line, T H. It's hard to remember where I am. Maybe I need to do something. Let's cross off letters. If we were to make a copy of this, it'd be a little easier, but I think we can do it just fine if we just cross off letters. Okay, now let's try again. W, it's blank. W, W, W. Then we go D, O, D, S, T, A, L, K. Now we go to the first line, G. Sorry, where did I left off? Stalk. G. It's not stalk gals. It's H for ghost. G-H-O-S. G-H-O-S. Now we go to one again, which is T. 2 is H. 3 is U. 4 is N. 1 is D. 2 is E. 3 is R. 4 is S. 1 is O. 2 is O. 3 is T. 4 is C. 1 is A. 2 is M. 3 is S. 4 is L. 1 is C. 2 is S. 3 is H. 4 is M. www.stalkghosthunters. I must have done this D wrong. Probably that's a 3. Stalk Ghost Hunters. And then what's gone wrong here? What have I done wrong here? UN. I misplaced the D here. UNTERS. Okay. So the next one is a D dot. And this must be .com. Boy, I must have got a bunch of stuff wrong here. All right, let's redo this last part. stalkghosthunters.com. Let's see. D-O T D-O-T C-O-M C-O-M.com. And then we got slash S-L-A-S-H slash M. S-L-A-S-H-M-C. Is that right, or have I messed up this little part? S-L-A-S-H-M-C. www.stalkghosthunters.com/MC. Morris Cook. Okay. Not bad. Not bad. I would say of all the puzzles so far, these have been the most reasonable. Okay, we downloaded this. Let's see if we can't go to this website. www.stockghosthunters.com stockghosthunters.com/MC. Summary of our investigation at Valewood Sanatorium. We didn't really get to stay long enough to do a thorough investigation. Someone didn't want us there, but we did pick up the trail of someone or something that led us to Morris Cook. See the article below. Also, we have a recording of a female spirit that might be useful. Listen to the EVP and see what you think. There was also one other occurrence that I'm not sure how to explain. Anna, one of our psychics, sat down at a typewriter on site and went into some kind of trance. She typed out a bunch of random letters, then her eyes rolled back in her head. She didn't faint or fall out of the chair as you might expect. Instead, she grabbed a pen and wrote a single word on the paper above the letters she had typed. It's almost like someone else was driving and Anna wasn't in charge of herself. I took a Polaroid of what she had done. Image posted below. Some skeptic I'm turning out to be. Stay safe, my friend, Mikey. Okay. So I think maybe we better bookmark this page. Okay, so we've got an image, an MP3, a Polaroid, and then we've got another article. So here is the car accident. Oh, this is the, okay, this is getting good. Tragedy struck late yesterday afternoon at 3:17 p.m. And we're looking at a photograph of a car crash. At 3:17 p.m. when two cars were involved in a major collision resulting in the death of one man. Gary Carter was pronounced dead on the scene after allegedly running a stoplight while intoxicated. The driver of the other automobile, Morris Cook, was airlifted to the nearest hospital and is currently in ICU where he's being treated for his injuries. Cook, known most notably as the CEO of Black Spire Pharmaceuticals, is currently in critical condition and is considered a touch-and-go case. Police are currently reviewing traffic cam footage and interviewing several eyewitnesses who saw the incident unfold. So this is our little origin story, huh? There is a close-up of the car accident. So this is the car accident that put Morris Cook into a coma that he never comes out of. He's the CEO of Black Spire, and his son is doing this killing on behalf of the company, which is looking for a cure to help him. Something like that. All right. Now we have an EVP to listen to. And what are we told here? One of our psychics sat down at a typewriter, went into a trance. She typed some letters, her eyes rolled back. What is the audio, though? Oh, we have a recording that's above that. We have a recording of a female spirit. Listen to the EVP, see what you think. All right, we're going to listen to that now. All right, you let me know if it's too loud or not loud enough.
Set me free.
Sorry, I can't hear it. Let's see if I can fix that.
Set me free. I'm trapped here. The cross was my purpose. Kill me. Pray.
Set me free. I'm trapped here. The cross was my purpose. And then she says, like, kill me
Set
and pray.
me free. I'm trapped here. The cross was my purpose. Kill me. Pray.
Killed me and then pray. So this is what I have. Set me free. I'm trapped here. The cross was my purpose. Killed me. Pray. With pauses between each of these lines. Don't know what to do with that. That at least that seems it seems comprehensible. Okay, and then we're told there is a Polaroid. They took a picture of what this psychic did. She typed some letters and then she wrote a word above it. Okay, so let's take a screenshot of that, and then we could print it out, but it doesn't seem like we need to. We could just write it out. Delusions, and then typed underneath it QTK DAX WZA. One for one. Let's see. Well, I noticed that S goes to A and S goes to A, so it does look like we're dealing with a substitution cipher, but what's going on? This is an I. Any other additional letters that we can get copy of? Okay, but this is our biggest clue. The S turned to an A and the S turned to an A again. Are we dealing with another shifting Caesar cipher? If the S goes to an A, N goes to a V, so that's not what we're dealing with here. We're not dealing with a Caesar cipher. We're clearly not dealing with an @bash reverse. How close is it though? D goes to a Q. That's totally far away. Is this Nancy's code? So Nancy has an arbitrary code. And there's our S goes to an A. It's Nancy's code. Plain text S in Nancy's cipher goes to an A. So we're getting a couple more letters. D, we didn't know, goes to a Q. Let's just make sure we're right about this. Is there any else we know? I goes to X, I goes to X. Yes. Okay, so we're learning a little bit more of Nancy's code. D goes to Q is new. L goes to K, we already knew. U goes to D, we already knew. S goes to A, we already know. I goes to X, we already knew. O goes to W, we already knew. N goes to Z, we already knew. Okay, so we learned one new letter, D, going to Q. The rest of it we already knew. Okay, so that's all we're learning from that Polaroid. Now, I'll tell you what I'm not thrilled about. Does this mean Nancy's dead and is a spirit talking to this psychic? Let's keep reading. Other spirits we encountered. We had nothing but trouble using any of our devices while on site. After a while, after a lot of research and a little bit of luck, we discovered what we thought was the spirit of a mischievous boy named Billy who loves to play pranks on people by rendering their devices useless. Breaking our devices was his way of telling us to put down the distractions and notice him. Anna, one of our psychics, communicated with him and gave him the attention he wanted. As it turns out, what we thought was a little boy was something much, much older. Still mischievous, yes. But what we were communicating with was only wearing the face of a child. Given what Anna learned, we were able to make a sort of offering to Billy based on things he liked. Chocolate, cookies, soda, basically any sort of junk food. Billy required an offering of 7 items in order to remove his influence on our devices. There was also a very specific order the items had to be left in. The drink always comes first, followed by anything natural. Any sort of chip or cracker comes last. Chocolate can't be next to anything fruity. Billy despises cheese, hates anything cold, and doesn't want anything that is baked unless it's pretzels, or fried unless we're talking about chips, or that resembles an animal. Typically, in the very middle of the offering, you have sweet, sweet, savory, and then sweet again. You have a vending machine on site that still has, if you have a vending machine on site that still has stock in it, raid that. If you figure out what he is, text or call me and tell me what he is, since Billy's hold on you will be temporarily weakened by his love for junk food. He isn't a ghost, and he definitely isn't a little boy. We managed to capture an image of the little devil. See below. Okay. So there is the spirit of Billy. And we've got another little constraint satisfaction problem here, but not one we can do yet. We're going to need to find the vending machine. All right, I will save that. We're done with this, which I'm trying to avoid writing on so it can be passed along. Okay, so we have a constraint satisfaction puzzle here. However, it doesn't feel like there's anything in this that's a hint. It's just kind of fun that we can see this kid. Clearly we're going to need this information when we can solve that. So in fact, so we don't forget, I'm going to write down the junk food puzzle from letter 7 is online. So that we don't forget to go back to that. But we're going to have to find that vending machine before we can solve that one. And we went to this URL, so that means next up for us is this puzzle. And what are we going to do? Okay, we have a QR code, so we just have to solve this, and then we'll have the QR code for this. All right, well, we've been playing for an hour and 11 minutes. Why don't we take a break here, then we'll come back and work on this. Maybe we'll make a little grid and do it properly. I'll see you in 8 minutes. All right, we're back. We've got a classic little puzzle here that is best solved probably with a little grid, which we're going to use. For those of you who are fond of such puzzles, I know there's a book called Myrtle Puzzle, and online as well, which has some creative stuff. Here you can see we're going to be challenged a little bit because in addition to this constraint satisfaction, there's the issue about who is being referred to. So the easy thing is we have 8 rooms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we have to figure out which victim is in each room. We know 8 victims. Now, the part of the problem, though, is that the constraints are expressed in various ways. They're like the orderly and the mother's room. So we're not sure exactly who those are, but I think the way to do it is we do have this list. And I think maybe what we'll do is we'll use this list of victims as our canonical list. So this is, let's say, Harold Minton, and he's the psychiatrist. I know that the constraints refer to him by his job, his psychologist. The next person here is Evelyn Cross. Now, who is she referred to here? Is she's a patient? Pocket watch. Fears about running out of time. That's our mother. So I think this is the mother. I guess we could fill this part out later. Okay, so next one is Marcus Bell. And he's the night orderly. Next up is Lillian Shore. And what is she? She's the neurologist. Next up is Samuel Price. He is the watchmaker. Wish I'd given myself a little more room here, but that's all right. And next we have Andrea Holt. Now, do we need to do all this? This is the intake nurse. We might be able to solve this without going through all this formal trouble. And I usually do try that. But I feel like it does get me into trouble when I get a little sloppy. So now we have Leonard Weiss, who's the director, former director. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we've got our last victim, who was in the newspaper article. Do we remember what? I believe it was in the first letter that we learn about a newspaper article about our last victim. Here. Try not to lose anything here. So our last victim was Janet Watkins. And what is Janet Watkins? How is she referred to? The question is, how is she referred to in these hints? And I believe she's one of the other nurses, because it says the nurses' room. And we only have one nurse here. We have the intake nurse. So I think Janet Watkins is a nurse. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to write down she's the last nurse and she's the last victim. All right, so now here's our grid. Now hopefully we won't mess this up too badly. All right, here we are. Let's go through our constraints now. Each of these are in a room. She spoke to the ghost of the mortician. Agnes Cartwright learned the inhabitant of one specific room has a message. If we can determine which room is in question and which of the dead linger there. So I think we're going to have to fill out this entire thing. Here is what we know. Okay. The neurologist room number contains only 7 even digits. Okay, so neurologist is here, Lillian Shore. Why don't we do it this way? So Lillian Shore can only be in even digits. So she could be in this one. She can't be in 805. She can't be in 807. She can't be in 811, but she could be in the rest. All right, that's this one done. Next. The nurses' rooms have digits that add up to equal the same number. The nurses' rooms have digits that add up to equal the same number. So I think what we'll do is we'll write the total here. This is 10. This is 13. This is 14. This is 15. These digits add up. These digits add up to 9, 10. This is 13. And this is 16. So if the nurses' rooms add up to the same number, they could both be 13s, or they could both be 10s, right? There's only one 9, there's only one 16, there's only one 15, and there's only one 14. So for both of the nurses, we can say that they can't be these others. So this nurse can't be in 14, and the last victim can't be in 14. Same thing with 15. Same thing with the total of 9. And same thing with the total of 16. So that, now, it's kind of important to recognize that we have now written down, we've put in this constraint into here, but we haven't fully put it in because we do know one other thing. They're either both the 13s or they're both the 10s. You can't have one be in the 10 and one be in the 13. So we need to remember that this is not fully satisfied on the table. I'm going to put in here a little note. Nurse, both 13 or 10. Right? Because we haven't done this yet. Okay, let's move our way down. The senior psychiatrist room number contains the lowest number when all digits are added. So I think it's telling us exactly what room he's in. The senior psychiatrist contains the lowest number when all digits are added. So our senior psychiatrist, but wait a minute. We have a psychologist. Oh, I just wrote it down. Harold Minton is a psychiatrist. Okay, so we believe that Harold Minton has to be in this room. In which case, no one else is in this room. I'm going to use a different marker for when we eliminate something not through direct evidence, but through implication, just in case we have to undo it. And then also we know explicitly that he's not in these other rooms. This is sort of superfluous, but we'll go ahead and do it anyway. All right. The orderly and the mother's room have digits that add up to equal this same number. When compared to the watchmaker and the last victim's room totals, theirs is higher. Oh, that's a tricky one, huh? The orderly and the mother have digits that add up to equal the same number. So here again, they have to be the 13s or the 10s. Oh, and we do know the last person, theirs is higher. Okay, so I think we now know who's 10s and 13s, but we don't know exactly which. But help me understand this statement. So the orderly and the mothers add up to the same number. So what we can do again is, just like they're exactly the same rooms the nurses couldn't be in, is now also true about the orderly and the mother. So just like the nurses, the orderly and the mother can't be in rooms that have unique sums. And that was the mother, and then the orderly is the same thing. Okay, so we know that they have to be in the 10s or the 13s. All four of these, the mother, the orderly, and the two nurses, have to be in the 10s and 13s. Okay, help me understand what this sentence says. They added to the same number. Now, when compared to the watchmaker and the last victim, the watchmaker and the last victim, theirs is higher. Whose is higher? Is it saying the orderly and the mother's is higher? Sounds like it is, right? It sounds like it's saying that the orderly and the mother is higher. I just wish it was phrased a little more clearly. If we're right that the orderly and the mother's is higher, then we know the orderly and the mother's have to be the 13. So if that's right, then the orderly and the mothers are 13s and the nurses are the two 10s. We still don't know which, though. Let's move along. The former director is between the mother and the watchmaker. So the director, this guy, is between the mother and the watchmaker. We think the mother is in a 13, but that could put her here or here, so that doesn't really help us much. So I'm going to write this as our to-do. Between mother and watchmaker. We'll have to come back to that. The last is first. Okay, the last victim is first. So I think that confirms that our theory that the nurses are the 10s, and one of the 10s is the first place. So I think that means what we've got is we know the room for the last victim is in the first room, 802. So that means that now we've got a lot of information. So if Janet Watkins, the last person, is in the first room, that's her 10. That means the other nurse has to be in this 10, which is the intake nurse. So she's not there, and she's not there, and she's not there. No one else can be in 802 because we've got the nurse in there. No one else can be in 811 because we've got our other nurse there. And now we know for sure the orderly and the mother are in the 13 rooms, but we don't know which. The orderly is in the room beside the intake nurse when going in numerical order. The orderly is in the room beside the intake nurse when going in numerical order. So the orderly we don't know, but the intake nurse we do know what room she's in. So if the intake nurse is in 811, then the only possibility left for the orderly is 814. Which means no one else is in 814. Maybe we can mark these more clearly that we've solved them. And now we know by process of elimination that the mother who's in a 13, since now we know which 13 the orderly is in, we know the mother must be in this 13, room 805. One, two, three, four, five. All right, we've got 5 of our 8. And now we need to, we've done the nurses and the orderlies. So now we're down to 2 more that we haven't fully incorporated. Let's see if they're easier now. The director is between the mother and the watchmaker. Okay, so we don't know where the watchmaker is, but we know where the mother is. The director is between the mother and the watchmaker. That means the watchmaker can't be adjacent to the mother. So he can't be here. He must be here, in which case the director has to be in 806. So that's that. The director has the neurologist, the watchmaker and the mother sandwiched between them, the director. So there's the mother. The only place for the watchmaker to be in is 807. With the director in between them in 806. So crossing off the rest of these, we know by process of elimination that Lillian Shore must be in 826. So that's our solution. Now we could double check all these to make sure there was one. Was there one we skipped when compared? The orderly and the mothers have digits when compared. So as long as we didn't get something wrong. here is our solution. We can box them all if we want. Okay, so now what do we do with this? We've got the solution. We know what room and what last name belongs to each room. We've got one room for each person and one person in each room. Okay, now what do we do? Ah, there's our QR code. The room number I'm going to investigate is associated with authority and administration. So that sounds like the former director, doesn't it? It sounds like it probably wants this one, Leonard Weiss, the former director, but I'm not sure. Maybe it'll tell us here. All right, let's try it. And if it's wrong, it's sort of embarrassing that I went through all those details, but at least I've shown my work. You can point out what room number and last name you use. Okay, so we know everyone's room number and name, but the question is, which one are we picking? The room number I'm going to investigate is associated with authority and administration. So it seems like it's going to be, don't you think? It's going to be the former director, right? Isn't that who we're looking for? The former director? I mean, administration, that means it's not a psychologist, it's not a patient, it's not an orderly, it's not a neurologist, it's not an intake nurse, it's Leonard Weiss, the former director. So, what room number? So, it seems to me we want 806 Weiss. Does that seem right to you? 806 W-E-I-S-S. It will be thrilling if this works, because the worst part of these is if you try to undo, if you've made a mistake and have to undo it. Ah, look at that. We caught a break. We got a break. I approached room 806, unprepared for what I might learn. Abruptly, a dark, vaguely humanoid shape moved through the doorway and out into the hall. It hovered in front of me. Dr. Leonard Weiss, I presume, I said, scarcely believing the evidence I was capturing. The dark figure just floated there, wavering in and out of focus like a bad television signal. Who killed you? I asked, hoping for an easy answer. Dr. Weiss whispered only this before disappearing. The killer has one face but many names. I have no idea what that means. Well, we don't either, but we are going to write it down. Killer has one face, but many names. Maybe that just means he's named TikTok, he's named whatever his real name is, and he's Malachor, the devil demon who's lived for eons. There he is, that shadow creature there. All right. Now, I believe we have finished this week's letter, but we can read the end part of this to see if there's anything we've missed. Here's his summary of this week's contents. The Polaroid Jansen 4, this suspect has completely taken me by surprise. The Polaroid of Maddie Millett, why would a patient be on Evelyn Cross's list of suspects? Okay, so this person is on the suspect list. Maybe it means that the demon is possessing different people and causing them to kill, but it said one face. Okay, so this patient is another potential suspect of ours. The notes from Wilhelm Vick. I need to get all the facts I can about each of TikTok's 8 victims. I had a fact sheet on most of them from earlier in the investigation I should consult. So it is giving you a hint to go find this list. I also need to remember Janet Wilkins. That's again reminding you to consult this from letter number 1, but we didn't need any hints on that. The wristband. The wristband was right where Nancy said it was. I think there are 3 patterns of numbers. I need to find the missing numbers in each. Again, a huge hint about how to solve that puzzle. I really think they would have been better off making this explicitly like a set of hints if you need help. I have fear that most players are going to end up reading this and rob themselves of the pleasure of figuring this stuff out by themselves. The stalk card. I was given this by some friends in the paranormal community to use in case of emergency. Now seems as good a time as any to use it if I can figure out how. No hint about this one. I think one of my main objectives this week is going to be getting into that lab door to see what I can learn. Okay, so we've already figured that out. All right, an hour and 53 minutes. Almost took us 2 hours to solve this. However, this was a very clean set of puzzles. None painful, all kind of enjoyable. And the plot is thickening. We've got 2 more suspects. We've been able to rule out some suspects that have tattoos. But weird things are happening, and we got a little bit of story about the origins of the injury to Morris Cook. I like this letter. This might be my favorite letter so far. And did we hear from Nancy? That made me a little spooked out. Like, I thought there was a chance we're going to find Nancy still alive. But it seems like she was sending some signal from the dead. That didn't thrill me. It was also nice that we got a little crossover to the Stalk people, which you could go play some of the Stalk games if you wanted. And we've got half of a puzzle that we're going to need to solve later with the junk food. All right. Now, I'm a little bit concerned that we've got 5 viewers and no one has typed in anything into the chat for the last half hour or hour. I'm a little bit concerned that I'm not actually connected to the internet, but I'm going to assume that I am and that you are all just tuned out. Why don't I just sign off with that assumption? All right, so in 1 hour at 4 p.m., I will do my New York Noir update and talk about New York Noir, the update to the art, and a whole bunch of other things. If you're curious about that game or just want to talk some more, I'll see you in 1 hour. For those of you who are continuing with Letters from a Ghost Hunter, I will see you next week.